State for Environment and Forests and Climate Change, and scientist and columnist and author, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Everyone, we've just come back from lunch. I mean, surely we can muster more energy. Little bit. That's very encouraging. Thank you. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you very much. We have a topic of conversation that occupies the imagination of a lot of people. And people will say that they're not imagining things when they believe that India is becoming a Hindu Rashtra. So without much ado, let me open this session out. Let me begin by asking Mr. Owaisi of the MIM, Member of Parliament, why do you think that majoritarianism is on the rise in India? Why do you think this government is working overtly, covertly to build a Hindu Rashtra?
You know, I'm reminded of what John Stuart Mill said to describe majoritarianism. He said, it's the tyranny of majority. And democracy does not mean majoritarianism. I still have hope left in Indian democracy because so long as the preamble exists, liberty, equality, fraternity, justice, that is what we are fighting for, that this country should not become a majoritarian country because Pandit Nehru had rightly pointed out that majoritarian communalism and minority communalism. He rightly said that the majoritarian communalism will destroy the country and minority communalism will destroy that community. So you see the various steps that have been taken by this government in particular. Take, for example, CAA. That law was passed to cater to a majority community so that the people who have been left out of NRC in Bengal, in Assam, will get the citizenship. Why are you heading towards a majoritarian form of democracy? Is because BJP didn't like NRC of Assam, because it didn't come according to their plans. They rejected it because 5 lakh Muslims were there. You see, this has penetrated to different levels. It's not only limited to one party, but at different spheres of our society, whether it's legal, social, political parties. And that is why even now for a political party to win an election, it is very important for every political party to be a better Hindu than other. It is more about the rights of Hindus than the rights of citizens. That is the level of debate. The question is what Prime Minister has not done. What has Prime Minister said in Maharashtra elections? Can a Hindu be a terrorist? And then you have mob lynching incidents wherein convicted killers were welcomed by ex-union minister. You take the example of legally. The Honorable Supreme Court rewarded, despite saying that an act of shame, a criminal act was done in Babri Masjid demolition, but the judgment was given in favor of people who demolished the masjid. You take the example of how Supreme Court is more worried about a road blockade, but not about how Kashmir was blocked for 6 months. And then you see the example of what happened in last parliament.
The matter is in court as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, and they have expressed reservations about the fact that...
As an introductory remarks to your question, please look at how a Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi was forced to say about a candidate of that party that no, she's a Hindu Rajput, her surname does not denote that she's a Christian, because to cater to the majority votes. So there is a list of examples which I can give. And that is why I am of the opinion that we are heading towards a majoritarian country, but I still have hope. And that is what we are fighting for.
Okay. Mr. Supriyo, is it as one-sided as it is being made out to be?
No. Asaduddin Owaisi sahab, London mein kafi samay, he has spent a lot of time in London. Sir, have you heard the address 221B Baker Street? 221B Baker Street. Are you aware of that address?
Yes, sir. There was a jean shop over there. I used to work over there. I know Baker Street, I know Oxford Street.
No, but 221B.
221B.
Well, I'll tell you, that's the address of Sherlock Holmes.
Yes,
where
sorry,
he
sir.
stayed.
Sorry, sir.
And
I'm not into mysteries and solving crimes. That is your expertise.
Sir, you will have the last laugh. Don't worry. Please take things in the right. What I'm saying. Sherlock Holmes said that his biggest enemy, his biggest opponent was Professor Moriarty. Why? Because he was an extremely educated person, and therefore, when educated people put their mind in the wrong direction, they have a humongous power over influencing people. My danger with Owaisi Saab is that he exactly knows what CA is. He exactly knows how it works. He exactly knows why it is important for India to have CA. Yet, he does good things at times as well. He told people to hoist national flags on their houses to protest against CA. I think that's a fantastic thing. That's exactly what we are trying to do in others, so that Mamata Banerjee's own book, which said that dual citizens are voting in Bengal to elect a government, Bangladeshis and Indians. So the danger is that he can be a mass leader, but he has reduced himself to be a minority leader, and that is a very sad thing for me. Modi ji did not give away gases, did not give away Ujala scheme, did not give away Ayushman Bharat, seeing the religion. But what he sees is religion, and what he's doing is fear-mongering. And if he was a naive politician or a neta per se with a topi, then I would have said that, okay, he's naive, inko hum dismiss kar sakte. Inko nahi kar sakte. He's a towering personality in the literary sense of the term, and extremely educated to know how and which way he wants to mislead the people. And that is very sad for India. In
so
the long
he's
run,
playing,
it's dangerous.
you're saying, overt...
One last line. He's saying that he has hope. That means he's making the entire electorate of India a fool when they choose Modi ji with a majority vote, with a bigger this thing. So what hope is he talking about? I would say he is the hope. He is an educated politician. Why is he taking this kind of stands? Why is he making such provocative comments? Can't he be a mass leader? And I will give him more examples later. Let us help us. Every speech of his is so much of aggression. You don't need to be aggressive to put your point across. I can disagree with him without being disagreeable. But he's behaving like a person who's disagreeable. You can't have a conversation with him because he's full of his own theory, and that is so strong that he can make his opponent just shut up with his entire persona. Today I'm wearing a shawl because I felt, why should Owaisi have all the fun? He's the only best politician in the parliament all the time. So it was nice breeze today. I thought, let me also try to get a little bit closer to Owaisi. But on a lighter note, I really want him to be a mass leader. I want him to be a mass leader, not a minority leader. Today he's playing the role of a minority. Modi ji is a global leader. Modi ji is a mass leader. He's the prime minister of the country. He cannot use the kind of language that he's using. One, he can definitely find a lot. No party is a clean sheep. So there are going to be people who are going to make wrong comments from every party. But to blame the Prime Minister and to always play that minority game is not something that is expected of Owaisi. Yes, absolutely.
To basically capture a vote bank and
absolutely.
At some level.
Yes, and because he's doing that, he's also blaming BJP of doing that.
Let him respond to you. Let him respond to you.
I didn't knew that today was a fashion show.
But you make it, for you every day was a fashion show. I like him because of that. See? Every day is a fashion show for him. So let me do it. Come on, yaar. Take it.
No, I would have worn the best sherwani from Jade Blue, but I knew that you would be wearing a shawl. But anyway...
It's my mother's shawl. Aage chalo.
Anyway, you look very smart. You look better than me, sir. Let me at least compliment you on that.
Why let me only? You cannot make a straight comment?
No.
Say it from your heart that I compliment you for that.
I really like you from heart.
Thank you, sir. You have one, that's good.
Thank you, and I respect you also. My only problem with you is that I quoted liberty, equality, fraternity, justice. I quoted J.S. Mill, you went to Sherlock Holmes. So this is the difference between you and me, that you talk about Sherlock Holmes, I talk about preamble of the Constitution and J.S. Mill. Now, may I also put to you that you talk about CAA. Please tell me, sir, is your government not going to give citizenship to those 5 lakh Bengali Hindus whose names have not come in an NRC of Assam? And is it also not true that you will not be giving citizenship to the Muslims of Assam whose names have also not come both of them speak Bengali language. Your own finance minister stood up in the assembly and said that we'll be giving citizenship to 5 lakh Bengali Hindus. So this is discrimination. This is violation of Article 14. And you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to understand that this discrimination is happening. That is why I am not really concerned.
No, so are you saying, Mr. Owaisi, that your entire argument is based on what you believe is the exclusivism that is inbuilt into the CA? That's what you're saying. That's what has really triggered this.
Rahul.
But if I were to tell you that in America, the Frank Lautenberg Amendment and the Specter Amendments also gave citizenship on the basis of criteria or classification, what would you say to that? We have had a history, sir, of classification, specific classification in this country, even in the issuing of quotas. Yes, they don't discriminate on religious lines, thankfully not. But there are politicians who want, in fact, quotas on religious lines, by the way. And I'm sure that a lot of them, had they been here from the Congress party, would have admitted to it. But I just want to say, Mr. Owaisi, is it just about the CA, or is it another bunch of issues also that makes you apprehensive?
No. As far as your question about American Constitution is concerned, sir, we have our Constitution. And that is the document, that is what is the living Constitution.
Sir, will you not admit that the CAA protects minority rights?
That is why I don't come on your program.
No, please. I'm only asking.
Because you don't allow people to speak.
It's a question.
So allow me to answer a question. You want to be a panelist and an anchor, then go ahead. I'll sit quiet and listen to fashion statements from both the sides.
See, you are demeaning me unnecessarily for wearing my mother's shawl.
Sir,
Please clap for him. I think this is what Owaisi is.
Sir,
this is not right.
Can I answer?
I'm wearing my mother's shawl. Come on.
Okay. Now, one second, Mr. Supriyo. Let him finish. I've asked him 3 questions.
So now the first question is, according to the Indian Constitution, CAA, in my opinion, violates fundamental rights, Chapter 3, Article 14. Secondly, you talk about quotas. Sir, there is a provision which is there in Article 14, 15, and 16. Quota is given. It has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Now, here you have a law which is first time in India's parliament that a law was passed on the basis of religion. Never it has happened. That is why I am of the opinion that it violates right to equality. And I am not against Hindus coming from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan. My whole argument is that you cannot make a law which violates the fundamental rights of our constitution, which has been clearly laid down in Keshavananda Bharati case. It is a clear violation. You cannot, and you are taking this country towards majoritarianism. This was the main topic, and this is what legislation does.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan. This whole concept of laws that are not exclusive, etc. Where do you come in on this? Because I believe there are laws which are exclusive to certain communities, which disadvantage those communities, but make an exception for others on religious grounds. We have seen.
Yeah, first of all, thanks very much to you and to Times Now for inviting me to be on this panel. No, of course, there are laws, and they come under reasonable classifications, and we can go on that a bit later. But I just want to begin by saying that today is a great day. You know, today is the birthday of a man who had a beard, and with one idea he changed the world. And I don't mean these 3 gentlemen with a beard. I don't mean Karl Marx as well. I mean Charles Darwin. Today is his birthday. And if there is one thing that we can learn when we are talking of majoritarianism, is that of course, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, there is something called social Darwinism, and there is no better phrase to describe what majoritarianism is than social Darwinism, which is wrong interpretation of Darwin's theory of evolution and applying it on a society, which is what humans have been doing for the last thousands of years. That is how empires were built. That is how huge number of civilizations were annihilated. That is how the state, our Indian state, functions. So social Darwinism is majoritarianism, and Mr. Owaisi is absolutely right when he says majoritarianism doesn't mean majority. Of course it doesn't. Our parliament functions because of majority. Majoritarianism is a thought, and if I can extend what Mr. Owaisi has said, it need not include millions of people of the majority. It can even be 10 people. It is thrusting your point of view of what you think is right, supremacist nature, exclusivist nature and dictating to others what should be or should not be done. And I would like to bracket majoritarianism in this country, which I believe has been happening ever since. It is not only since 2014 that we are seeing a glimpse of majoritarianism, as though there was a huge Cambrian explosion and everything that was right in India started to go wrong after Modi came to power. Essentially, majoritarianism in our country stems from two facets. One is the state itself. The constitution is discriminatory. The constitution is not secular, it is plural. And the other, which is the biggest peddler of fake narrative and the biggest peddler of hate, the mainstreamer of hate, is actually religion. Now, these are the two facets that are responsible for majoritarianism, and how easily we accept both of them. One, we might not accept very gladly, but the other, we not only accept, we also peddle it. We think it is absolutely fine to be religious. And now I want to give two examples, Rahul, if I may, very quickly in each of these facets and tell you how majoritarianism is the bulwark of the way our society functions. So first, I would very quickly like to have a quick show of hands, please. I'm going to be taking some Kashmiri names. How many of you know of Burhan Wani? Could you raise your hands, please? Almost all the hands went up. How many of you know of Eklavya? Right? No, I don't mean the historical Eklavya. I mean the modern Eklavya. The name Eklavya, all right? None. Radhika Gill? No. Sagar Sahi? None. Melu Ram? Satinder Singh Sathi? Ejaz Bund? No? So you know of Kashmiris, Burhan Wani, but you don't know of these 5 or 6 Kashmiris. So you do not know that for 70 years, these are the Kashmiris, the Dalits, the Eklavyas, the refugees, the Sikhs, the Gurkhas, whose human rights were brutally trampled upon by the Indian state, the majority, the democratic Indian state for 70 years through Article 370. They could be postgraduates, they are PhDs, but they could only get a job as a sweeper. They were refugees, Hindu refugees who ran from West Pakistan to save their lives, but they were denied citizenship, basic rights. And now you are saying that majoritarianism is there from 2014, when all of you were silent, including me, when our Indian state, democratic Indian state, was trampling upon the rights of Dalits, so much for, emancipation of Dalits. The second example I would like to take is religion. And of course, we know how gladly we accept all the exclusivist nature, the misogyny, the bigotry of religion, amongst all religion. But in particular, when we have Mr. Owaisi, and I hope I won't be interrupted, when we are talking of majoritarianism, how is it that 3 of his legislators were arrested for threatening to behead Taslima Nasreen? How is that not majoritarianism? How is it not majoritarianism when lakhs pour onto the street demanding the beheading of Kamlesh Tiwari because he said something that was egregious? Why is that not majoritarianism? When Mr. Owaisi exhorts, and I quote him, वो जालिम, वो कुत्ता जो उत्तर प्रदेश में बैठकर अल्लाह की शान में गुस्ताखी किया, याद रख, तू आज जेल में है, मगर दुनिया तेरे लिए चूहे के बिल की तरह बन जाएगी इंशाअल्लाह. तेरी गुस्ताखी ने तेरी अपनी बर्बादी को दावत दी है. And then a few months later, Kamlesh Tiwari was beheaded. How is this not majoritarianism? And the same gentleman, Mr. Owaisi, who talks about saving the persecuted minorities or persecuted people from Pakistan and Afghanistan and Bangladesh, the persecuted also include Ahmadiyas. And Mr. Owaisi doesn't consider Ahmadiyas as Muslims. Yes. How is it that you have one standard for one minority and the other standard for completely other, persecuted people? And Mr. Owaisi exhorts Jai Bhim, Jai Meem. Why is it that when it comes to majoritarianism of the other kind, he is completely silent to more than 50 hate crime Muslim mob attacks on Dalits in the past 1.5 years? Why is it when he talks about Jai Bhim, Jai Meem, he does not even once mention what Dr. Ambedkar said, and I quote, Islam is a closed corporation, and the distinction that it makes between Muslims and non-Muslims is a very real, very positive, and very alienating distinction. The brotherhood of Islam is not the universal brotherhood of man. It is brotherhood of Muslims for Muslims only. There is a fraternity, but its benefit is confined to those within that corporation. For those who are outside the corporation, there is nothing but contempt and enmity.
Okay.
Why is it that only one? I'll just want to finish in just last 2 minutes. And it is not that I am going hammer and tongs at Mr. Owaisi himself, because on since 1947, even before that. And the biggest person I hold responsible in party I hold responsible is the Congress party. More than 275 blatant violations of freedom of speech and expression. The BJP is equally culpable. In 2012, you had in a single day under the UPA, 8,000 people were charged under sedition. In 2017, under the BJP, 10,000 Adivasis were charged under sedition. There is a person who complained of blackouts, power cuts in Chhattisgarh last year. Congress regime charged under sedition. So when you have constitution protecting people who go against people who want to just have their freedom of speech and expression, of course there is going to be majoritarianism. Unless we change the law, unless we reclaim Dr. Ambedkar's constitution from the one which was actually printed and stamped during the emergency where secular word was included, I actually see very little hope for this country. Thank you very much.
Mr. Owaisi, lots of questions.
Once again, I need to answer to his question that he told me about CA. See, you know, you are talking about a minister saying that in Parliament. Let the government act. Let the government do what they are trying to do. Why are you spreading this fear? Why are you raising this, you know, suspicion? This season of suspicion that everything that you're doing, with everything that you're saying, has CA stopped any Muslim for asking refuge in India? Has the Foreigners Act been amended? Does it stop anyone from Pakistan, from anywhere else? You have just stopped short of saying that BJP has decided that Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan are going to be neighboring countries, and BJP has decided that all those three countries are going to be Muslim countries. So the 80%...
So you're saying...
So the infiltrators in Assam, by religion, are Muslims, because though they came from the countries who are Islamic countries. So get into logic, boss. You can be a mass leader and not just remain a minority leader. Whatever you are saying is not for the country. You are only talking with such aggressive language.
No, it's okay, but let him respond, because large number of questions have been asked, and he has a right now to respond to individual questions.
No, he asked me 2 questions which I wanted to answer.
Okay, let him respond.
So by your logic, only 5 lakh are Muslims Ghuspetis and 13 lakh non-Muslims are Ghuspetis.
That is your explanation of the thing, and that is what I'm asking you to refrain from.
Let him first speak. You can respond.
Sir, that is what the NRC has given, isn't it, in Assam? The reason you are rejecting NRC of Assam is because it did not live up to your expectation or plan that it had only 5 lakh Muslims and 13 lakh were non-Muslims. I have asked you a specific question. Is your government going to give citizenship to Hindus whose names have not come in NRC of Assam, citizenship under CAA or not?
Can I answer?
Let me complete.
Let him finish.
Let me complete. Secondly, you talk about Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Sir, I am not at all concerned with these 3 countries. I am concerned about saving the constitution. Reason being that you have, first time a government has made a law on the basis of religion in both the houses of parliament, which no one has done, which you have done, which in itself is a violation of the fundamental right, chapter 3 of our constitution. Thirdly, isn't it also true that people who overstay in India for, let us say, 30 days, if he is a non-Muslim, you fine them only 100 rupees. If he's a non-Muslim, you fine them $100. 90 days, it is 300 rupees. For Muslims, it is $300. Why are you doing this? Why, sir? And to answer
Dr. Anand Ranganathan.
Dr. Saab. As far as Taslima Nasrin is concerned, sir, maybe you have forgotten to do proper research. That criminal case has, all my MLAs have been exonerated by the honorable courts of law. You must do your research properly. That, I think so, in the heat of the moment, you have not touched upon it. As far as my speech is concerned, sir, you are open to go and file a criminal case against me. If that is what you believe I have violated, as an Indian, you have right. As an Indian, I have freedom of expression. I cannot sit here and start praising all unconstitutional steps taken by a ruling party. Yes, we opposed even Congress party also in 2012. We withdrew from UPA. We are still opposing Congress party. We will continue to do that. But what you and the Honorable Minister are forgetting is that majoritarianism is practiced by this present government. Majoritarianism example is that a union minister stands up in an election meeting and says, Desh ke gaddaron ko, and the people say, Goli maro salon ko. No case on him. You have a UP chief minister who has taken oath on the constitution.
He can't ask so many questions. How will he answer?
No, let him answer.
Sir, both of you have spoken for nearly 8 minutes.
I did not
Let
speak.
him,
No,
please.
no.
Both of you have spoken
He has
for
a
8
right.
minutes.
He has a right to put
ahead,
his
go
point.
ahead.
This is majoritarianism. You ask pointed questions, you get disturbed. Listen to me. You cannot have a UP chief minister saying, Badla liya jayega. And what happens? 25 people are shot dead. What happens is that Justice Sudarshan Reddy in fact-finding committee had exposed how, in what way that all those firings happened. I don't want to go into details of that. You have a chief minister coming to Delhi and saying that Goli ki zaban samajhte. You have an MP of your party who said whatever said about Shaheen Bagh. You fought elections of Delhi on the basis of agar Shaheen Bagh mein aisa ho jayega, ye ho jayega. Sir, your statements are, ample statements are there, which are made day in, day out by your ministers. If a ruling party ministers speak in this language, then definitely they are speaking because the Prime Minister wants them to speak in that language. In our democracy, we have this thing called collective ministerial responsibility. So minister using this language, had a party functioning being made, I can argue party, but a minister, a chief minister speaks in this language. That is why I say that yes, this country is heading towards a majoritarian form of democracy.
Okay.
And lastly, CAA, NPR, NRC are part of Citizenship Act of 1955. NPR, NRC are two sides of one coin, both part of Citizenship Act of 1955. And that is why I say that in example of Assam which you have, you are going to use CAA to give citizenship to all those non-Muslims whose names have not come, and the Muslims will have to fight their cases in the foreigners tribunal.
Okay, important. I just want to make 3 quick points.
No,
The question is about selectivism. Are we being one-sided? Now, sir, you talked about a particular minister making a slogan and there were killings. I can remember, sir, because I lived the experience in a state called Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, where slogans rent the air at a particular time, and hundreds of Kashmiri Hindus were either killed or forced out of their homes. At that time, I don't think, and I can ask this particular audience here, how many of you heard the Prime Minister at that time saying that that was wrong? Raise your hands. How many of you heard? Not one hand up. Not one hand. Why? I want to ask you, in 84, when Sikhs were killed, what did the Prime Minister at that time say? Sorry?
Rajiv Gandhi, yeah.
So, I want to ask you, were there fears then that majoritarianism was taking root? Where were those politicians who said majoritarianism is taking root, or a mentality is taking root? When the locks of the Babri Masjid were opened, when was that commentary extended to the Prime Minister at the center? Think about it. I just want to pass this along.
Can you?
No,
why don't you?
I am not
Rahul, give
saying.
me-
No, no,
Now,
why
one
don't-
second.
no, no,
Very
2 minutes.
importantly,
There's so
I
many
am
questions he
only
has raised.
saying. One second.
No, Rahul, why
that
don't
was
you-
wrong. And if there has been infraction, and there has been infraction today with ministers in the Delhi election, when they have made statements, highly condemnable. You saw me talking to a minister of the realm and ask him those questions, and I asked him why is that the BJP doesn't take action against those people. But are we going to say that infractions represent a majoritarianism blessed by the Prime Minister? I don't know.
No, I just want to
Why
answer
don't-
one
why
question
don't-
by him.
I am really surprised that you have missed 2002 Gujarat.
No,
You-
no,
you-
no.
no, why
No,
don't
no,
you talk
I'm
about
sorry.
it?
I am talking
why
about
don't you-
selectivity.
Owaisi, please go to Gujarat now.
If you allow me, if you allow me, sir.
Rahul,
If you allow me.
are you suffering from selective
I
amnesia?
think you forgot.
But
I
no,
think you forgot.
are you suffering?
My
No,
question
no,
was...
Owaisi-
I am saying
Sir,
that...
sir,
Can I ask
Rahul,
one
Rahul,
question?
let me answer to
If
you.
you allow me.
No, please allow
You
me.
asked me a
I am
question.
your guest.
Am I-
You're an anchor. You're an anchor.
I just
No,
want
you're
to-
not-
Owaisi
just
साहब,
listen to me.
दूसरे को भी
What
बोलने
happened-
दीजिए।
what happened to Kashmiri Pandits is highly condemnable.
Where were
And
you,
I-
Mr.
कहाँ बोला है आपने ये बात?
One minute.
Where have
Why
you
were
said this?
Mr. Owaisi?
And I hope...
Where
Why
have you
did
said
you file
this?
a case?
Give me-
Why didn't you go to court?
Why
Rahul,
don't
once
you-
again.
Why don't you...
I'm asking you.
Hundreds
why
of
don't you
hundreds
see-
of thousands of
Why
you know
don't you see my
Hindus
Lok
got
Sabha
massacred in
speeches?
Bengal. When did he raise his voice?
Sir, ek
He
minute,
has
ek
selective ways of responding to
Okay, one second,
national
sir.
problems.
One
You
second,
can
one
speak
second.
after
बट
me.
हमने तो बात ही नहीं की पिछले 10 मिनट से आप ही बोल रहे हो आपने सवाल किया उसका भी जवाब नहीं देने
मैं
दिया
आपको तो
I'll
सही।
just
आप
bring you
साल में
30
अच्छे दिख रहे, स्मार्ट
आप
दिख रहे,
देखिए फिर से आप
सुनिए।
सवाल में आ
30
गए
seconds, 30 seconds. Yes.
थोड़ा दिल को बड़ा करिए
Sir,
Yes,
sir. Now,
Yes.
you know, as far as the Kashmiri
Childishness.
Pandits, every time,
please. Yeah.
every time, I have in my last 15 years, I have spoken many times in the Lok Sabha. Please check the records.
How many people
no,
have gone to jail for those crimes?
Rahul, how many people have been sent to jail in the last 5.5 years?
I'm only asking
How many?
you, sir.
You know,
30 years, some people have waited for justice.
No, Rahul, what
A movie
happened?
is being
No,
made
no,
on those
no, no,
people.
fine, I know.
Finally, someone is
He-
found.
What
the
happened?
courage
Rahul,
to
let
make
me-
at least a movie, though it's an apology.
let me say
Sorry.
one thing please
What,
he has-
no, you,
he
you,
has
what
put the-
happened? What
It's
happened?
okay.
What
He
he
what
has
happened?
put
happened,
the CA,
The
NPR and
government was
NRC
with Mahbooba
inside a
Mufti.
mixing machine
Please, one second.
and has
two people
confused the
can speak.
entire people with by he's making statements. He's not making accusations. He's making statements about what the government is going to do
You're
in the
absolutely
next
right,
1 year.
because I'm not making
you are,
accusation,
you
I'm
are,
making a
you
statement
are
of a
confusing
fact.
people.
You are
and
not able
you
to
are doing a
answer
big
my
crime
statement
because
of
you are
fact. You are making
absolutely.
accusations.
No, let me speak
It is a
now. Why are you
statement of
speaking on me?
fact, sir.
Okay, sir.
ओवैसी साहब देखिए
I'm sorry,
चिल्लाने से
I-
अपना पॉइंट जो है वो
नहीं, मैं
एस्टैब्लिश
चिल्ला
नहीं
नहीं रहा हूँ,
होता
आपको बता
मैं तो
रहा
बोल
हूँ
रहा हूँ
कि it is
आपको
statement
मैं
of
आपका
the debate.
ओपोनेंट हूँ दुश्मन नहीं
Okay.
मेरे को बोलने दीजिए आपने कितने सवाल किया
your point.
मैंने
अच्छा,
जवाब दिया क्या
बोलिए,
Sir,
बोलिए,
make your
आपको
बोलिए,
आप मेजोरिटिज्म की
बोलिए,
बात करते
जरूर
हैं
बोलिए।
आपको मालूम है कि
जरूर बोलिए, पानी पी के
सुनिए
बोलिए।
अब देखिए फिर से आप बोल रहे हैं
अच्छा, बोलिए सर, don't worry.
इतना भी प्यार मत
Debate में-
दिखाइए
debate
सुनिए
में हो जाता है।
Rahul, I'm
बंगाल
also there
में
on the panel.
नहीं आई नो बट सी इज नॉट लेटिंग बंगाल में ममता दीदी 2016 में पावर में आया विद 47% वोट उसमें से 27% जो है वो मुस्लिम वोट्स है आपको मुस्लिम अगर माइनॉरिटी लीडर में ही आप रहना चाहते हैं आप मास लीडर तो नहीं बन सकते आप मैं आज भी आपको सुन लिया अगर हम सही में मास लीडर भी बनना चाहते हैं बंगाल में जाइए खड़े हो जाइए उस मुस्लिमों के लिए जिनको दीदी इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं तो ये मेजोरिटी नहीं हुआ दीदी उसी 27% को लेके खेल रहे हैं और उसी से डिसीजन हो रहा है
अरे भाई मेरे
आप सीएस नहीं गलत बात है सुनिए ममता दीदी ने खुद बोला है ये उनकी किताब है स्लॉटर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी कलरफुल है मैंने ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट लिया उसमें उन्होंने खुद बोला उन्होंने खुद यहाँ पे बोला है ये देखिए मैं आपको डॉक्यूमेंट्स दिखा रहा हूँ थोड़ा सुनने की भी धीरज रखिए सर
अरे
मैं
टीएमसी से क्या ताल्लुक मेरा
सर
वो तो
सुनिए
मुझे
ना
भी
सर
अपोज कर रही है
क्यों आप टीएमसी के पास
नहीं है
आप टीएमसी के खिलाफ कुछ बोलेंगे नहीं क्योंकि वहां पे ममता दीदी जो कर रहे हैं वो अपीसमेंट पॉलिटिक्स है इन योर फेवर
ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर शी मेड अ स्टेटमेंट अगेंस्ट मी
सर मुझे बोलने
दैट आई एम योर बी टीम
सर आप
यू बोथ डिसाइड हु इज ए टीम
आप बी टीम नहीं है आप बी टीम नहीं है आप सिलेक्टिव आपका हियरिंग भी सिलेक्टिव है आपका हियरिंग भी सिलेक्टिव है आपका कमेंट्स भी सिलेक्टिव है आप मुझे भी बोलने नहीं दे रहे हैं क्योंकि मैं आपको डाटा दिखाने वाला हूं ये ममता दीदी का किताब स्लॉटर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी का डेटा है जहां पे दीदी कह रही है कि बंगाल का वोट जो है वो बांग्लादेशी दो अलग देश के सिटीजन डिसाइड करते हैं वो बोलते हैं कि देखिए लेफ्ट ने सारा ये चीज किया है अब दीदी वही चीज कर रही है रोज वहां पे लोग मर रहे हैं हम स्ट्रीट पे लड़ रहे हैं हमने एक बार भी आप हाथ उठाइए कितने ने आपने देखा है कि दीदी बंगाल में जो कर रहे हैं उसके खिलाफ कोई साहब ने एक शब्द उठाई है एक शब्द उठाइए आप बताइए मुझे गला काट के लोगों के घर पे रखा जा रहा है आप कुछ नहीं बोलते हैं अरे अगर आपको मास लीडर बनना है अगर आपको डेमोक्रेसी की बात करना है इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट प्रीएम्बल ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन देन यू हैव टू बिहेव वन You cannot just make statements with assumptions about the government who have been chosen with a vast majority. Modi ji is a mass leader. उनको पहले करने दीजिए. आप ऐसे आपका हर भाषण जो है वो इतना गुस्से वाला भाषण है कि मुझे लगता है कि कहीं आप उस गुस्से में लॉजिक को तो नहीं खो देते हैं.
Okay.
और यही बात ये सब कर रहे थे. यही बात ये सब आपको कर रहे थे.
मैं बोलूं?
नहीं, आपको मैं एक चीज और भी बता दूं. असम में नहीं अच्छा चलिए आप असम में मैं आपको
बोलने दीजिए.
नहीं इन्होंने सवाल किया उसका लास्ट सवाल का जवाब दे रहा हूँ.
3 minutes.
लास्ट सवाल का जवाब
40 minutes.
Okay, coming to you.
थोड़ा ज्यादा बट सवाल का मैं आपका लास्ट सवाल का मैं जवाब देता हूँ. मैं आपको इतना ही कहूंगा कि एनपीआर और एनआरसी को मिला के आप जो कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं उसे मत करिए. ये केस स्पेसिफिक है.
पर उन्होंने आपसे एक स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन पूछा था.
नहीं सीए इज केस स्पेसिफिक. दिस इज केस स्पेसिफिक. अमित शाह ने कई बार बोला है केस स्पेसिफिक फॉर बांग्लादेश.
Will Hindu people who have migrated from Bangladesh and Muslim people who have migrated from Bangladesh or from Bengal in Assam, when you finish with this exercise, NRC, who will get citizenship? Will one group get privileged, i.e. the Hindus, over the Muslims? And where will the Muslims go?
People who are Indians will get citizenship. People who are Indians will get citizenship.
Only on the basis of their religion.
नहीं आप ये उनका accusation है. ये उनका statement है.
नहीं, but आप मुझे बताइए CAA तो वही करता है ना. इनके interpretation में the CAA advantages a select number of religions over the Muslims.
Can he deny the fact that millions of persecuted Hindus from these three countries have fled and to India? Can he deny that?
Okay, so
I want him to deny that.
Just
can he do it on camera?
Yes. Okay.
Sir.
Very quickly, and I want to bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan.
नहीं उनको ही बोलने दीजिए सर. एक साथ सबका जवाब दे.
Okay, चलिए आप भी बोलिए.
He wants to have the last word. That's what it is. Sir, आप पहले बोलिए उनको जवाब देने दीजिए ना.
सर पहले आप में मत घूम जाइए.
उनको क्यों शिकायत देंगे?
पहले आप.
मैं बोलूं?
हाँ बोलिए.
अरे आपस में डिसाइड कर लिया आप लोगों ने.
नहीं आप बोलिए सर. मैं दिल बड़ा करता हूँ.
I think दीदी doesn't allow Babul to speak in Bengal, तो सारा यहाँ पे आके पूरी भड़ास उतार दी है.
नहीं.
There is majoritarianism in Bengal. He is a proof of that.
बंगाल में दीदी को मैं खूब हैंडल करता हूँ. मैं सिर्फ आपको एक मौका दे रहा था. आपने फुल टॉस छोड़ दिया. मैं चाह रहा था कि ओवैसी जी आपको क्वेश्चन करे, आप उसे उनका आंसर दे. लेकिन आप पहले बोलिए. He'll have the last laugh.
To come back to what Mr. Owaisi, threw some accusations at me, it's only fair that I rebut them. He said that, I haven't done my proper research. Well, I'm a scientist, so research comes as a second nature to me. And you're a lawyer. Now, I'm not saying whether lying comes as a second nature to you, but Rahul himself has covered in 2008, 2012, how there was an almost murderous attack by AIMIM legislators on Taslima Nasreen at a literary festival. She was almost killed. Bricks, umbrellas, and flower vases were thrown at her. And 3 of your legislators, as I said, were arrested for threatening to behead her. This again happened few years later in Aurangabad, where AIM legislators were waiting at the airport to take care, quote unquote, take care of Taslima Nasreen. Now, as you say, if the court has exonerated them, does that mean that they did not do all these things that we have described in what we saw? Number 2, as far as, I have 2 questions for him when he said that, look, I have always stood up even against the UPA. I have always condemned things, atrocities that were to be condemned. I've always stood up for liberty and all. That's a load of complete BS, if I may say so. Can you give me one instance where you have spoken against the trampling of the human rights of lakhs of Dalits? Dalits, you talk of Jai Bhim, Jai Meme. Through Article 370, the persecution of Dalits in Kashmir. There is not one instance where you have spoken. Point number 2, I will give you another instance. In April of 2012, and this is all research, by the way, this is easy research, it's not even scientific research. I don't know why you should be perturbed by it. In April of 2012, the Communist Party held a resolution where they said they demanded citizenship for Bangladeshi minorities. Minorities does not include Bangladeshi Muslims, by the way. You were absolutely silent. In August of 2015, the Congress demanded a resolution.
And in 2003.
And in 2003, that was different. In 2015, they demanded through a resolution, they demanded citizenship for Bangladeshi minorities.
Manmohan Singh said that in the parliament.
Yeah. Manmohan Singh said, but what I'm saying is, When it suits you, you are absolutely silent.
Okay, I'm now under pressure to have this wrap. So I'm going to actually leave the last word with Mr. Owaisi. Mr. Owaisi.
Sir, again, I would say you have not done your research properly. Do you know a place
Thank goodness he's not a referee for one of my papers. Otherwise, he'll always keep rejecting.
I pity the paper who checks your paper, you know. So anyway, now, do you know a place called Nagar in Maharashtra? It's called Ahmednagar. It's known as Nagar. Over there, there were 4 Dalits who were killed and their bodies were strewn across
Answer the question.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen
no,
to listen.
You are allowing this.
See,
Rahul. He's not answering.
I never. No,
That's the charge.
No,
नहीं, आप आंसर दीजिए ना स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन
आपने कश्मीर के दलितों के लिए कुछ कहा है?
क्या बोला है?
Answer it. Don't go around the bush.
एक मिनट.
उसीलिए मैं चाह रहा था कि
I
आप
pity the judge who has to listen to your argument.
Okay. Sir, let's just confine. I'm under pressure. Do you support Article 370?
I have
the
never seen a
abrogation,
restless
or are you
scientist.
against the?
आप आर्टिकल 70 को
Do you support the abrogation of Article 370?
and
Simple
35A?
question. Ek minute, sir.
No, sir, I opposed it. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because it is
That
answers
answers Anand Ranganathan's
the
question.
question.
Because Article
Rahul,
370
you
was
have to
discriminatory.
Human rights of Dalits doesn't matter.
No. So you cannot speak for me.
I'm only
I am-
Therefore, you
I
cannot
am-
speak for
I
the
am-
government as
I
well.
am
You
quite-
proved my point. That is exactly what I'm saying.
I am
Please
quite-
don't speak for Modi ji.
I-
You
why
don't
should I
want
speak?
Rahul to speak for
Acha,
you.
theek hai.
Please
Let him
don't
finish.
speak for
Look,
what the government
I'm
wants to
really-
do.
I'm really
That was
running
my
out of
point.
time. Please, let him
I
make
made
his
my point. I have
Okay,
nothing
chaliye.
else to say.
Whether
That's
it
exactly
is-
what I was telling him.
Whether it is a roundabout answer,
मेरा
whether it's
हाल
what
ऐसा
about it,
हो
let him
गया कि
answer.
फंस गई रजिया गुंडों में.
नहीं, आप विक्टिम कार्ड प्ले करते हैं, but actual वो नहीं.
Let me answer.
Yeah.
3:1. Fine, thank you. It shows your majoritarianism here itself. Nothing to be said anything.
You're
I rest
happy?
my case.
You're happy now?
I rest my case.
You're happy?
Now, this is a typical emotional response to a hard, factual question.
No, Rahul.
And that is again what about
your
and changing
problem
the
is.
goalpost.
Sir, हाँ या ना बोलो ना, sir.
Your
I'm
problem
allowing
is.
you
Let's
to
have a
speak.
show of hands. Did he
Sir,
answer
हाँ
my
या ना
question?
बोलो ना,
Whether he spoke?
Okay.
हाँ या ना बोलो,
Dalit.
sir.
Sir, you
हाँ या ना बोलो.
people have lost in Delhi. All of you have lost in Delhi.
Why?
Because these people made Shaheen Bagh, you lost.
That's your saying.
No, you're lifting your hand for the government. Goli Maro, you lost. The UP chief minister with 300 MPs came and said, you lost. So please, this is
Sir,
not a representative
Rahul,
audience.
one second.
This is not
Okay.
all.
Look,
As
मैं
far
एक
as
चीज बोलना
370
चाहता हूँ
बोल
कि
दीजिए,
देश
sir,
के
please.
गद्दारों को
अब
गोली
दोनों-
मारो जब
अच्छा,
कहा गया,
sir,
इन्होंने क्यों बोला कि मुझे
मिनट,
गोली मारो? क्या
मारो
मान
ना,
ले रहे हो कि आप
अच्छा,
गद्दार
मारो,
हो?
मारो, please मारो.
Why did you
Let
take it
him
on
finish.
you?
मैं गद्दार
That's
हूँ.
your problem.
मैं गद्दार हूँ.
The world
I
is
have
all
to-
about you,
मैं
Owaisi.
गद्दार हूँ.
No one
मैं
else
गद्दार हूँ.
exists.
Please give
ये
me
बोल रहा है
गद्दार
कि
हूँ.
देश की गद्दारों को गोली मारो.
मैं
ये भाई साहब बोल रहे हैं
मारेंगे
कि
आप.
हमें गोली मारो.
Gentlemen,
अरे किसने
please.
आपको गद्दार कहा है?
भाई साहब,
You
मैं-
take everything on yourself.
Okay, sir, एक मिनट.
भाई
Let him
साहब,
finish. Let him finish,
भाई
please.
साहब, मैं गद्दार हूँ
Sir,
आपका.
2
मारेंगे
minutes.
आप.
आप बोल लीजिए, please.
मैं
नहीं हो
गद्दार हूँ.
गद्दार. आपको मैं
मैं-
मास लीडर बनने के लिए बोल
Sir,
रहा
We
हूँ.
मैं
are
नहीं
going
बनूंगा.
much
आपने कुछ
above.
सुना ही नहीं.
Okay, we are going much above. Babul ji, we are going much above.
मैं गली का लीडर हूँ. तुम दिल्ली के लीडर हो. मैं गली का लीडर
सर मैं गली से जीत के आया हूँ.
मैं गली में खुश हूँ.
सर रिसर्च ठीक नहीं है
Rahul,
आपकी.
as far as 370 is concerned,
Yes, sir.
as far as 370 is concerned,
Yes,
it is violation of the constitution.
Okay.
It is violation of federalism. And as you rightly said, the Supreme Court decide because you have not even consulted the people of Kashmir. You have done it because of the basis of BJP agenda. That is
The
my answer
people
to
of
it.
Kashmir do not include lakhs of Dalits, lakhs of
Sir,
Valmikis,
sir. Okay,
lakhs
now,
of refugees. They are
gentlemen,
not
we need to end
Kashmiris.
this
Listen,
panel
listen,
discussion.
Kashmiris are only Muslims.
I was hoping that I'd be
This
able
is the
to show this.
majoritarianism.
Okay, please. Now,
Listen,
both
Of a person who asked one of his
not
own
reduce this.
MPs to
Dr.
apologize for
Ranganathan.
saying Ganpati Bappa Boria.
Let-
This is the
Let-
majoritarianism.
let-
Let everything be out.
Ranganathan, please.
Let me answer,
please.
sir.
Now, no,
Let me-
gentlemen, please. I have to draw the curtain down on
half
this.
a minute,
We are
Rahul.
really running
half
over.
a minute. May I request you that when the all-party meeting went under the leadership of late Arun Jaitley and Mr. Rajnath Singh, please go and read the minutes. What did I say in Jammu? What did I say in Srinagar? Please ask, who did they tell me to go and meet?
You say.
No, don't tell me.
क्लोज जोन में
Answer
बोलते
the
हैं.
question
सर
directly.
क्लोज जोन में बोलते हैं. पब्लिकली नहीं बोलेंगे आप.
I'm closing the discussion now. We've really exceeded time. The point about majoritarianism is it depends on which side of the fence you're standing on. That's the sense I get. I'm not speaking for any of the panelists, but I get the sense that if you are on the side that is feeling oppressed you will look upon it as a oppression. However, there are two sides to this story. We were trying to get at whether we are selectively looking at this story and interpreting this story. We haven't got close to resolution, but we've certainly had ideas on both sides being expressed. I leave it to you to conclude in your minds. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, gentlemen. And I must say that this has been the most exciting panel discussion that we've had. Mr. Supriyo, your shawl is beautiful. And Mr. Owaisi, you look as dapper as ever in your sherwanis. We learned a lot more than politics today, didn't we? A lot about fashion as well. But anyway, we're going to stay on politics for our next panel as well. Since 2018, the BJP has had a worrying record in assembly elections in India. And this trend clearly has continued despite, okay, they kiss and make up as well. So they've continued despite a massive mandate in the Lok Sabha polls earlier last year. And most recently, as we've all witnessed, it's clearly